Very, very appropriate, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get fooled again. 1970s here, mid-70s, The Who, and you know what, folks? That song's relevance today, front and center. As I do this video outside of what I'm working on for the next 3 months, and I have been for some time now. Don't worry, there's still videos for residential school genocide coming later today. But I have to take this little break because massive amounts are just pouring in. The economics, which is my specialty, just hammers on me in the last 48 hours. Just biting my tongue, but I can't help it. I've got to release it. We've got to talk about it. The Who's song in the mid-70s, Don't Get Fooled Again, the new Constitution, revolution. Folks, it's all coming front and center today. For those who don't remember the energy crisis in the 70s that led to the 80s, and we saw the Charter come forward and all these promises, especially for Canadians. But the lies continue to mount. We have Joe Biden, bull-faced liar. But yet the worst, and seemingly that person in the one position in the world of transformation, Justin Trudeau, seems to be guiding Joe's hand. And then we watch Joe Biden continually walk back on absolutely everything the man says and does. His whole strategy out the window. We're going to talk about economics and the 180 million barrels released from the people. I mean, it's a great time to sell, but it makes you question. Joe Biden, I thought you had a green new agenda. Now you're releasing from the public coffers 180 million barrels to soften for only 3 months, folks. Don't get fooled again. Joe Biden can't transform anything. It is to try and win in November. He releases 1 million barrels of oil a day for the next 90 days, which is the maximum the man can do. All the way through, 180 days is the maximum he can do. That's all he can do. And why? To win midterms. To fool the American people. To fool the West. Meanwhile, is it Russia that's affecting Canadians? Justin Trudeau, Jason Kenney, who is affecting Canada's prices? Canada doesn't buy Russian oil, folks. Saudi Arabia, many others, but not Russian oil. Does the Ukrainian crisis have anything to do with Canada? No. USA, it does. It does. What are the barrels being released from Joe Biden's administration contrary to his Green New Deal? What are those? Well, those are Alberta barrels of oil. Folks, I'm sorry, but what Bush did and filled those salt caverns with was Canadian oil. And most of it comes from Alberta. That's what's being released. For those in economics, those who are investors, those in finance, those in banking, in the institutions, Let's talk about Justin Trudeau's massive lies. Joe Biden's massive lies. They cancelled Keystone XL. When it comes to supply and value chains, Canadians, you have no ability, none whatsoever, to increase any oil to the world. None whatsoever. You are maxed out. Out of these massive 180 million barrels, Canada can deliver diddly squat 200,000 a day maximum. And that's at the best circumstances. And also, folks, at these prices, Alberta will lose jobs, Canada will lose jobs. Because, folks, that means they have to go without shutdowns, without maintenance of the refineries and the plants in extraction all the way through to refinement, all through the whole chain, folks. Drilling to what? Storage tanks? Storage tanks don't generate cash. They don't even see anything meaningful in any real payouts to the people who were promised, the people who own the resources were promised funds from that. They don't get it in storage, folks. They don't get it. And we can keep maximizing our storage for private coffers because it's not for the people. Alberta invests in storage of oil, but you don't get paid. Nobody gets paid. Not even those farmers with whom's lands are being expropriated for to drill and service wells on. No pay. Got to sell that oil. Storing it doesn't yield, not in any real significance. It's a con job. It's a con job to all the people. It's a con job for everybody. Where is the massive cost in fuels coming from? Well, that's simple. Taxation domestically. Justin Trudeau's carbon tax is what's increasing food prices. Nothing else. This was already scaling up for years, long before Russia. Everybody, February 24th, you don't feel the price effects of things like that in less than 3 to 6 months, folks. We haven't even felt Russia yet. And we're definitely not going to feel Russia in energy. Anyone telling you that for Canada, I'm sorry, is a fucking liar. Don't get fooled again. Need a new constitution. That's the facts here, Canadians. You're being bamboozled by an absolute dictator. They're all in on it. There's no party telling you the truth. They're all screaming, Russia, Russia, Russia. But how can that be? We don't buy any energy from Russia, none whatsoever. Canada's not influenced that way. We buy back from the United States of America. We sell in the West at rock bottom prices. So low, in fact, Iran makes us look like a laughingstock. Iran, under tremendous sanctions, nuclear proliferation, heavily sanctioned like Russia, but yet they're still making tremendous money. Bloomberg releases, you haven't heard it yet, folks. I have the story 48 hours before all of you. Before all of you. Vladimir Putin has increased the amount of revenue from energy by 1/3 this year, all the way through the conflict. You ready for this? $385 billion USD. That's the value. Trillions in ruble. Vladimir Putin hasn't been scratched from sanctions. Regardless of what everybody is telling you, that is a Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, absolute load of bullshit. European Union is not cancelling any of the contracts. None. Putin said, I want to be paid in rubles. They're going to be paying. It's already a done deal. Nobody is going to go into energy poverty for Joe Biden or Justin Trudeau. Nobody gives two shits about Justin Trudeau in Canada. Canadians, you don't matter. You have no supply and value chains in the European Union. More than that released. You haven't heard it yet. As promised, February 24th by the Russian Parliament. Russia finished phase one. They did not get their butts handed to them. They were never taking over Ukraine. It's published, pushed through by Parliament, demanded of Vladimir Putin. Did you know what the latest polls of Russians supporting Ukraine are? Verifiable, real polls. Huge surge for Vladimir Putin, doing the will of the people, following the Constitution of Russia. He has no choice. He's got 84 regions where a mass majority of the Russian population demands justice for Donbass, the independence which was passed by Parliament. The representatives of all 84 have demanded, voted in majority, Putin must act. And he has. Everyone wants to blame him. They want to sanction him. Vladimir Putin and the Russian system is set where the rich pay first, the people are shielded the most. The whole world of the G7 and even G20 aiming at Russia until, of course, it hits the value and supply chains of Russian energy, which is not going anywhere, folks. It never was going to. This is UK, USA propaganda, and I should have actually put dirty Boris Johnson in there too, because I'll tell you, folks, they're trying to walk back all the changes with the Brexit, and now we're going to make a new relationship with Europe. Are you kidding me? You hogged the media for years on Brexit. It was what had to be done, and now, well, maybe it was bad, and we're going to build a new relationship. Nobody wants you flip-flopping back and forth, and then when it suits you, come back in, and hey, nobody likes instability. Instability is no good for nobody. Not good for business. Trust me, folks. You want to talk economics? Nobody likes instability. Businesses shun that. Nobody trusts the UK anymore. What's the matter? Things aren't working out in Brexit land. You have your P5 power, but nobody to utilize it on. Sure, you can veto, you can do this, you can do that, but it's your trade that suffers. And you have your little empire, you've got all your little colonials out there, Justin Trudeau, fierce warrior against the people of Canada for the benefit of the royal family who thinks that they can tell you all how to live. The costs of energy and food increases in Canada are absolutely and 100% in the hands of carbon tax. Massive, massive increases in carbon tax. April Fools is Canadians again. Your increases come from carbon tax. It's not going to stop. Which brings me to Premier Jason Kenney. Put out the Will Smith meme. Nobody gives a heck about it, a hoot. Jason Kenney's done. He's not popular. He's not well liked. He's finished. Too little, too late. You're 10 times worse than Ralph Klein was. Ralph left when he fell below 50%. He put his name in for a leadership vote. And here's Jason Kenney trying to alter it, transform course. Tell all Albertans that, look, we balanced the budget with record barrel prices of oil, and just makes the grade above balanced budget. Albertans, Canadians, as it stands, we're finished. We're finished. We've been closed off of all value and supply chains. No ability to produce or sell or market products anywhere. This goes for food, absolutely energy. This country is completely broken. You've been fooled. You need a revolution with a new constitution. When I say revolution, I don't mean the violent eruption like places like Ireland and many places in Africa, even though that does happen. Just like the Donbass and what's happening with Russia as Russia commits to phase 2. Exactly what they rolled out February 24th. But us in Canada, we're the biggest fools on the world stage today. The largest fools by a large margin. UK's in a lot of trouble. All over the Pacific, all over the Caribbean, everywhere. Everyone's going, baited assholes. You got Brexit, we're going to exit you too. Things didn't work out the way they thought it would. Didn't work out. Bloomberg has all of this, a lot of analysis, a lot of work I've done and shared is out there now. It's going. You're going to see the stories. Doesn't matter. People want to suppress. Hey, a lot of media won't run it, but Bloomberg's running it. Michael Bloomberg's running it. It's already been approved. Editors have approved it. Could make this stuff up if my life depended on it. It may very well. I don't know. But I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Jason Kenney's video, Premier Jason Kenney. Everyone's seen that. That's from 2018 on his campaign trail. White hat, blue truck, driving around like Mr. Old Cowboy. I'm going to go out there and show everybody I'm a rough and tough Albertan. Even though we don't talk like that, we don't act like that. Been in Alberta my whole life. Nothing in common with Jason Kenney, but I can tell you, when you see a diesel nozzle forced into a gas nozzle, if you haven't seen the video of Jason Kenney from 2018 on his I'm a hillbilly, so disrespectful, but a lot of Albertans fell for it. They voted for the cowboy Jason Kenney. It has nothing to do with Alberta. Never had any love for Alberta. Man made his life out east, just like everybody falling for Pierre Poilievre, who has carbon pricing which smells and stinks economically exactly like Justin Trudeau's carbon tax. Because I promise you folks, I know I lived through times of the Conservatives where carbon pricing meant end user fees, monthly utility bills and energy sometimes going upwards of $600, $700, $800, and that's more than 10 years ago. I know how hard it was struggling for my family at the time. The costs were absorbently high, incredibly high, just like it is now under Justin Trudeau. Russia's not affecting our prices. Your government is. The taxes, the massive lion's share of the inflationary pressure, which is absolutely and 100% the fault of your government. They don't care about you. They're filling their back pockets and transferring the money overseas to foreign powers. That's what we're doing, Canadians. Making foreign companies richer where they invest somewhere else. That's what's happening. And for all those, and I know I'm an economist, I can tell you, 10 years ago, with what's happening right now, I would have liquidated and I would have bought American currency. Now, the Canadian dollar is going to go up, especially over this 180 million barrel release by the USA. But Canadians, that influx of American cash is minor. Minor. Because nobody, and I repeat, nobody of any average sense is going to see any of that American cash transfer into the Canadian economy or for our exchange rates. You know why? Because it's going into the energy owners' private hands, large multinationals who pay out on dividends. Dividends. Now, those people holding large shares can go buy American cash and they may see a few bucks, but the average Canadian is not going to see any of it. None of it. Not like even 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I said, hey, everybody buy American cash. But it's only going to be a few cents increases. And then you got to watch the Canadian government, who will be going around buying Canadian cash to lower it, because it's east versus west. How it always has been, folks. Always has been. Price of barrel will go down for a short period of time. 3 to 6 months. What does that overlap? Joe Biden's midterm re-elections. He's got to get his numbers upwards higher because of that two-party system. When you sit at 40%, you can't get elected in the United States. You're a shit president with a shit campaign and a shit reality. That's the reality for America, not Canada. Multi-party system, you can be down at 32%, 1/3 of the country behind you, and absolutely rule a majority. Justin Trudeau's doing it. Justin Trudeau's doing it. Canadians are fools, largest fools, largely in most of the world. Mostly. We're susceptible to massive amounts of propaganda from foreign nations who keep telling you to take it right up the chute. Take it in your orifices, because that is the way to the royal family, the elite, the first class. Make them happy, keep them in grandiose sense at your absolute expense. Green agenda, Green New Deal, how's that translating to Canadians? Look at your trade relations with Russia. Canada doesn't have hardly any. Zero. Justin Trudeau lies every day on the media to all of you about Russia and Ukraine, and your prices out of control. What's out of control is Justin Trudeau and how much he's charging you to fight climate change, as he lies to you because Joe Biden's doing the opposite. And then you're going to be importing more foreign products. You've increased your energy usage by major amounts. There's no Green New Deal about that, but there is suppression of the Canadian export business in those fields. Canada can say, look, all the people are suffering, all the people are getting raped, pillaged, and plundered, and we haven't put a dent in any environmentalism. None whatsoever. In fact, it's gotten worse because the places we're importing oil from don't have nowhere near the standards, nowhere near human rights standards. In fact, the world's a worse place under Canadian propaganda, lying to you, saying it's a better place, but it's not. The world's gotten worse. Climate change has gotten worse if you measure it according to those radical agendas. Well, how's that possible? Well, it's because you've elected Justin Trudeau the liar. The same thing would happen if you had Candice Bergen in there, which will be Pierre Poilievre. There's no doubt about it, folks. Economics. Bloomberg, they're publishing all works from a lot of us. A lot of us. And it's coming out. You're going to see in the next 48 hours. You're going to find out Putin gone from the north to pull him back, not because they lost ground, because they demilitarized. They never, ever published anything. The parliament never passed anything allowing Putin to take over Ukraine. That was never going to happen. But shut them down militarily while they free the Donbass, which is in the Far East. And they're making an area for the majority Russian-speaking citizens oppressed by a minority group in radicalism, folks. I'm sorry you don't like this, but the majority of Russians going through all they're going through and being hated on the world stage, nothing new to Russians, and in a mass majority, Putin's never been more popular than he is today. And everybody says, but it's the propaganda. You mean like the propaganda in Canada that somehow the war in Ukraine is what's destroying us economically? Justin Trudeau's destroying you economically. Candice Bergen, it was Aaron O'Toole, Stephen Harper before that, destroyed you economically. Same agenda, different words. We're going to do carbon price, and we're going to do carbon tax. We're going to change the world. We're going to lock Canada and Canadians out of the global economy. You talk about communism. Well, how about that monarchy system of absolute autocracy? Autocracy. The Canadians are not equal citizens out there on the world stage. We're not equality of the person. We're definitely not equality of UN states. We're the opposite. 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 We give it to another country who dictates over us through a royal family. Much, much worse than communism, because at least everybody is shit in communism. But in Canada, there's the shit from the shit, the rotten shit. That's your third-class Canadian. And even worse, believe it or not, than that is called the First Peoples. That's the legal system of Canada, a legal system of civil law socialists all over the world. And mark my words, Justin Trudeau, Candice Bergen and Jagmeet Singh, and all the federal parties just love the autocratic system of the Crown customary law. The Constitution of 1867, a diseased mind of a creepy class of people. Economics that works for them. Divine socialism, divine capitalism. People can argue, hey, it's okay, go ahead, you can post on your views. Oh no, I call it divine socialism. Oh no, I can prove it's divine socialism, divine capitalism. Whichever way you go doesn't really matter because they're the same thing at the end of the day. You can argue about it, hey, congratulations, pick your side, but the reality is you go so far to the left, you run right smack into the right and vice versa. Does it matter if you have monopolies by government or monopolies under government of a wealthy elite? A handful here or a handful there. It's the same fundamental system. The mass majority go down the pyramid until you get to the bottom, which is the 99% in the shit. And then even worse is the savage underneath that, the deemed savage. Now, this isn't my creation. This is actually written in the legal system in this country, Canada. There are others around the world. Almost a third of the world's population falls in it. 2/3 fall in tyrannical, unitary, and crown colonial states. That's scary. Just in the UK system that still lives, goes on. I give stories every day. I'll go through this. Economics, guys. By the numbers. Canada will have no effect, none whatsoever, on increasing any kind of trade in oil through this whole massive, massive amount of numbers. The money coming in is because of USA selling reserves. That's it. Canada's only going to get the portion that they absolutely trade. That's all. That's the only exchange in American dollars flooding into Canada. There's no growth opportunity there. Literally none whatsoever. Don't bank on an extra 200,000 barrels coming from Canada into the system, because that isn't even a guarantee. Even if you do train, even if you do that, that's the maximum. 200,000 more. That's it. And at these prices, that's great. But Joe Biden is making all the money. He's doing the opposite of his Green New Deal, while Canada's stuck holding the bill, losing the revenue. Justin Trudeau says, that's great, it's okay. I will use the Canadian people. If it gets too bad out east, we're just going to buy Canadian dollars. We're going to trade American money for Canadian dollars to lower the Canadian value. They will, mark my words. It's been done many, many times. Market and financial manipulation for the benefit of the East. Only for Ontario and Quebec. It's not working very well for them, but that is the system in Canada. Very autocratic, very unitary. Has nothing to do with this federalism we supposedly have. Look at Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan right now, crying out in the night. Justin Trudeau taking a hot piss over all of them. The media shunning you, telling you it's Vladimir Putin's fault. It was the pandemic's fault. But yet the incremental increases in carbon tax match everything we're going through. We have no trade with Russia, never have. We have no oil reserves. When I say that, oil reserves by you, the people, are there private companies with mass amounts of tank farms in Alberta and other parts of Canada? Sure. But that's not yours, people. It's not yours. All blown, gone, long gone. Everything that was the people's of Canada has been liquidated. And what's funny is even the People's Party of Canada never talks about any of this. They sit there and they go with the narrative of the Crown. Because Maxime Bernier is the Crown. He's a lifetime Privy Council member. They're all tied to it. They're all corrupted. Every single one. You're never going to get the truth. Look to Bloomberg for the truth. Even though saying, oh, but they're leftists. Well, at least they're truth news. There's truth news there. And you're going to see it in 48 hours. I couldn't make this up if my life depended on it. Again, maybe it does. But not everybody's buying into the BS. Joe Biden's looking to purchase his presidency by backing out of everything he said he was going to do. He's going to screw over his base because he's lost too many of them. Now he's going, well, I can't be just associated with the radical green agenda. That's less than 3% of the population. That's not going to win me an election. I have to back out of it now. Even though I screwed over everybody and I screwed over Canada, but Justin Trudeau loves it. Justin Trudeau loves it because his power and control and authority over the Canadian people only expands. His control of the media only expands. Aaron O'Toole was down with that. Candace Bergen's down with that. Clearly, Jagmeet Singh's down with that, who has nothing to do with Labour. And when we talk about religious affiliation, if you don't know or haven't looked at it, Sikhs in religious sense, which is a very new religion, it's about as old as the English language, our modern English language. It dates to that same time period pretty much as the evolution of Shakespeare and publishing in English for all the illiterates, which was a mass amount of people. We're going back to the 1500s. This is the birth of the Sikh religion that absolutely is dead against unions and organized labor and the average citizen. They're all about business and putting faith in your employer. That's part of the religion. I don't know if people don't care about that, but that speaks volumes. Jagmeet Singh is a crown colonial from India. He's not respected in India in any way, shape, or form. That's why they came to Canada, because they went through the Commonwealth. He's a lover of the crown. He likes it on his head. He wants it real bad. So he betrayed everything that is India constitutionally, and those trying to push away since 1948 in independence. They still have a lot of colonial embedments, but they're fighting back every day. Now, Jagmeet Singh, no, he's a tyrant. He's into Justin Trudeau's system of full autocracy. That's why he came here. And in his religious beliefs, the employer is always right. You need to be slapped out as a working person. You do what your employer tells you. You take what financial situation the employer gives you. Well, massive rich people are formed and massive people who can't even afford shoes run around India. That's how it works. That's that religion. Is it better than Islam? Is it better than Christianity? I don't know about all that. I just know that that isn't right. That goes against the fundamental human rights we were all given at the absolute expense of all Allied soldiers in World War II. If you haven't read the Declaration of Human Rights, I suggest you read it, because Justin Trudeau's removed all those laws. Conservatives, that's a staple of the autocratic conservative who says business is everything, you the people are nothing. You're not even in the Constitution. We get the divine capitalism. We get the divinity of socialism. You get all the bills. You get everything that's wrong with socialism, and you get everything that's wrong with capitalism. It's all for you. The bills, the bills, the bills. an illusion of a real economy. That's Canada. An illusion of one. Manufactured at the absolute expense of all the third-class citizens and the first people of Canada, who only have 0.2% of the land of Canada. 0.2%. That's it. Third-class citizens, most of which, large portion of the 40 million near Canadians, a large portion live on less than 6% of Canada. The rest is in the first-class hands, and that's in your private lands, and it only grows as farmers get the boot. Since the inception of Canada, farming has gone like this. Since the Indian Act, farming's gone, who has all the land? Foreign oligarchs or domestic oligarchs or the Canadian government. At that point, it don't really matter when you, the people, got less and less. Your population grows, but yet less and less land becomes available to you. It keeps getting lost. As your government drives up costs against you, the adage that you'll be happy and own nothing. I don't know anyone happy, living check to check, scared about the future, can't feed their kids. That's a reality now in Canada. But there's not enough bread lines yet. Let's give it another year. Trudeau's got more work to do, and he's lucky he's got the conservative agenda who says, oh, it's all wrong. Trust me, we're going to have end user fees, the same tax applied to you regardless. Oh, okay. Wow. No change. Right, left, no change, none whatsoever, except for less for you, the people, work harder, more hours to yield less. Cost of living went up, your wages didn't move. They say, don't worry, we're going to do deflation another way. We're going to increase interest rates, which puts you in recession. More unemployment, more. Socialism, autocracies never work. Government messing in economics and in finance through the Bank of Canada they have full control of, which was never to be, but some wise guy had an idea named Stephen Harper to bring in a foreign lawyer and use the Crown to force the Supreme Court to rule in his favor. That was Galati. And that was the end of Canada and the Canadian people's central bank. Your bank, your wealth, was transferred to whomever you elect as your next politician. They decide what happens with your public worth and value. They decide. Not you. Not an independent bank institution that reflects what's best for the Canadian people because they have the education specified. They don't get to do that anymore. Now the Supreme Court overrules it whenever the Governor General had from advice from the Prime Minister, meaning the Prime Minister decides. Any Prime Minister. And they're not going to want to fill their pockets. They're not going to be corrupt. They're not going to ruin you, the people, economically. There's no accountability, no rules of governance or how to govern. That's constitutionalism. Don't get fooled again. Need a new constitution, the who. That's been Canada's reality forever and a day. Since absolutely 1952, unequivocally 100%, that's the truth. How many decades can you go before we're decimated? How many decades can we go? People, get the video shared. This is Economics 201. This is the reality for all Canadians. Americans only see half of it because they actually have value and supply chains. The ultimate costs go on you. And it's because of your politicians, all of them, but Justin Trudeau is by far one of the worst. Jason Kenney takes a diesel nozzle, shoves it in a gas tank in 2018. Thank you for all those who shared the video. I saw it yesterday. Betty, I think, was the first. It's funny how the embedments can't tag anybody in the video. I mean, it's good to share it, but hardly any viewership. It's already been sequestered. It's been out for mass amount of time and hardly anyone's watching it. That's the acting of politicians. That's how they fool you. Don't get fooled again. You need constitutionalism. From Zelensky and on, all the way to Trudeau and even Jason Kenney, they are all actors, not real lived peoples. These are actors who've been seated there, trained for most of their life to be a used car salesman in Canada. Sell you a bag of lies. Joe Biden does it too. He's a massive liar. He can tell a lie and flip the other way the next day and lie about his lie on national TV. Not blink, he's been doing it for 40 years. The difference is the Constitution of the United States limits that dirty son of a bitch. And then there's midterms coming. No matter what this man does, it's not enough. Too little, too late. Even if he started up Keystone XL, which would help Alberta, and then we could see dollar change and exchange, and then the viability of things. There's no viability of Canada. There's no economic abilities coming forward. And in fact, Alberta, when you watch the budget for Jason Kenney, that's as absolutely good as it can get at $1.30 a barrel. At $1.30 a barrel. That's as good as it gets for Alberta. Is that the path forward in the next 5 to 10 years? No. In Agenda 2030, you want to look at selling off the American reserves, which will now be the lowest reserve since 74 in the history of the United States under Joe Biden, just to try and purchase votes. The illusion that everything's getting better, it's not. And again, it has nothing to do with the war in Russia for Canada. I mean, zero. USA, yeah, there's effect there because of their global impact and trade, which is a good thing. They're on every stage in value and supply chains. But not you, Canada. You're not there anywhere. You can't even interprovincially trade. Most of your trade is north and south. I've talked about this for years and years. There is no 10% of your trade is east and west. You don't even have sovereignty. You don't even have a government that works for you, the people, because you're not represented in the Constitution. You've been fooled. You need a new Constitution. You need to see some kind of revolution. I say political revolution, but violence won't yield it. Just like Ireland, it didn't do nothing. Made things worse. Russia's doing that in Ukraine for the Donbass. Everything they said they were going to do, they're following to a T. People say the war is coming to an end. Well, sure, it'll come to an end when those republics are either out of Ukraine or Ukraine recognizes federalism and gives them regional constitutionalism. Canada has that, but it's never put it in place. It says it in 1867, which is the exact model of USA, which is also the exact model of the Russian Federation. Always been, always been. Crazy, right? We have it, but we've never enacted it. It's not a good idea to cement your division of powers. It's better to give the unitary power to one federal leader to protect the interests of his base, which is Ontario and Quebec. Everybody else gets nothing. That's Economics 201. We're seeing it with the carbon pricing, carbon tax, call it whatever you want. Doesn't matter what party you get in. That is the war on the people in Canada today, not Russia. We don't trade with Russia. Nothing. Literally nothing. In energy, nothing. You're being fooled. You need a new constitution. Thanks. That's my video. Share, share, share. All true, credible, verifiable, and you're going to see the story in Bloomberg. It's coming out ASAP. Next, I got the 48 hours because I helped contribute. Bye now.